our end goal here is to make sure that the South African government or members of the South African government come here to participate in dialogues with the community, because this is a collective effort. The community here, the government, the United States government cannot do anything in South Africa without the effort of, it's got to start in South Africa. It's got to start from the government down there. So we're very honored to have both of you here again. The folks before you were actually our mentors. They are the movers and the shakers of the community. And again, thank you, Her Excellency, for taking her time to be with us today.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum everybody. Peace be upon you. On behalf of Somali Muslims, Somali scholars in Twin Cities, on behalf of all these young brothers, I appreciate their job. Myself, I think I'm the oldest one. I remember 60s when I heard Nelson Mandela, I was crying. And also, I never ever thinking about Kenya, I have a problem. Ethiopia, I have a problem. But South Africa, I was thinking that's in my homeland. Please, 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 we need to stop this.
Thank you very much. Before I start my remarks, I would like to ask everybody here to have a moment of silence for all the victims of these heinous crimes of the xenophobic in South Africa or throughout the world. I'm asking for a moment of silence for you to remember those. May Allah grant Jannat al-Firdausa. I want to thank you for General Counsel. I think the judge is a great friend of Somalis. I want to thank you for that. I also want to thank Kejo organization. What a wonderful, I'm expecting this young, new leader of the Somali community. I'm expecting a lot. Thank you for hosting us today. I think, General Counsel, we're here today really to express our feeling. I want to be honest with you. The Somalis throughout the world are really shocked to see what happened in Port Elizabeth in South Africa. I want to first express my heartfelt condolences to Ahmed Abdi and his family. What we are asking your government is not really a talk. Talk is very cheap. What we are asking your government is to do inter-dialogue. Because this xenophobic attacks against Somalis is not something that just started, really, the killing of Ahmed Abdi. It started almost 10 years ago. We thank your government, but we want his action. So please, when you communicate your government, what we're asking is if you could conduct inter-dialogue between the local businesses and the local population. What we need is reconciliation. There are 50,000 Somalis living in South Africa. Most of them, they have fled a civil war. When they went to South Africa, they thought that they will get another chance in life. I think Professor Cedar expressed very well here. During the struggle of ANC, our government, Somali government, helped ANC to gain its independence. We did everything we can. We will never forget that. We will stand shoulder to shoulder when ANC was seeking a better South Africa. And to have a government that's run by ANC to humiliate and kill one of our own in the streets on Port Elizabeth in broad daylight, where the police was present, it is something that I will never forget. And I think awards will do injustice to the victims. So today we can talk, but what we want is an action. And I think, I'm very glad you're here today, but I'm talking from my heart. And I think I speak on behalf of my community here. We want your government is to do reconciliation. There is a problem. If we don't acknowledge the problem, we will never fix it.
The emotions of the Somali diaspora, of the people in Somalia, are very high. You're right, Mrs. Excellence. We cannot work with emotions. But the emotions exist. It's a fact of reality that people are very sore of the mistreatment of Somali ethnicity in South Africa. I thank you, Mr. Sadiq, for mentioning the international treaties that South Africa is a signatory to that, all the treaties of treating refugees. We are very concerned. I, as a kid, grew up championing the struggle of South Africa, of the ANC. I didn't know South Africa or ANC, but my teacher told me. I grew up in Mogadishu, and that's where my school was as an elementary student. I grew up the struggle of all of Africa, especially South Africa and Zimbabwe. I had neighbors who were refugees from South Africa, who were ANC members. I remember my brother was a high officer in the army. He used to train South African ANC fighters. We knew some Somali students couldn't go to college because their position was taken by refugees as a scholarship in the local colleges and universities, whatever we had. I grew up in Boston also when I was a young man. And I was a member of the International Students Association. And I was a chapter leader for the ANC to fight against apartheid. We have a long struggle that we belong, as a professor said, to South Africa. But we're dismayed that I know Angolians, other African refugees are also being mistreated. You might want to call criminality, and I don't want to dispute that. But it's not only Somalis, we're also concerned for everybody. What we would like to get is something out of this meeting. I would like to Chob. I would like you to invite Kachop and Omar Jamal to invite us to come to South Africa. We would like to go there. We would like to see those people. We want you to take us to Port Elizabeth, to those businesses, to those neighbors. We want reconciliation because we are planning to stay there.
Of course.
We're not going, we're not running. So we would like you to really take this into a next step, and I'm sure you will.
The government and the authorities of our beloved South Africa has also a role, and they have to play their part. Here in the US, everyone can walk around and peacefully can pray. We have peace here, and due to the authoritative and the system of this country. The dialogue, coming back to the dialogue, we've started this dialogue here in Minneapolis for the last few days. Amongst myself and my colleagues, we've gathered in these several places to tell our people here in Minneapolis to do whatever they can do, raise their voices, rally, protest peacefully. And that's what we're planning to do today, peacefully. Nelson Mandela had taught us that, and I'm echoing to all of these wonderful speakers. But I'm coming back to what we need is the law authorities to step up on TV the other day, 2 days after this brother had died, Ahmed. The president was asked, the South African president was asked, from the higher up to the other authorities. We need some actions. I don't want to go a little further, but I'm going to give you this letter that we drafted last night, and we've all agreed. So you can please take this to His Excellency, the Ambassador. And enough was said. We're all saddened, shaken, emotions are high, but we need to go back to the dialogue. But along the dialogue, I'm going to emphasize authorities and the government of South Africa has to step up and do their job, do their what's morally and what's needed to be done.
I'm here on behalf of Senator Amy Klobuchar, and U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar is fully aware of this tragedy that took place in South Africa. She deeply cares about this matter, and she wants to assure the Somali community that she stands with the Somali community. The Senator also appreciates Consul General for taking her time to come to Minneapolis and listen to the Somali American concerns. My role here today to share this feedback with the Senator, and certainly as we continue working on this matter, the office and your Senator Amy Kalobasha will she will continue to work with you on this matter. It's unfortunate what has happened. It shouldn't be happening anywhere in the world, but certainly she will do whatever she can in her power to support the Somali American community.
I would like to thank, first of all, I would like to thank my brother Jamal. I would like to thank Kejok. I would like to thank Mr. Jeremiah Jibril for organizing this beautiful gathering that's here to go from where we are. I think we're not going back. What happened, happened. And that I think it's a learning process for not only for the Somali community, but also for the South African government, as well as people to know that Somali people are there to stay, as well as having prosperity, having peaceful, and having, I think it's something that we all share. So one of the ideas that I have is to actually figure out how many Somali businesses are in South Africa, where are they, and the different locations, as well as to kind of like register them. So in case anything happens, that we know who is who, how many businesses are there, and not only the South Africans, but also the Somali government, as well as the Somali population who are concerned, to know that this is how many businesses owned by Somali people in the South African continent, and that it's a clear cut that this is how many businesses are in South Africa, so we can also find some kind of a unified umbrella that can help unite how many businesses are. Create some kind of an organization where they can unite themselves and know what's going on in their circle. That's my idea. Thank you again to all of you, and thank you for the media. Elias, who's here all the time, Farhia, and all the members, Kechok, Apkos, all of my friends.
We are saying, what are you doing as a government to protect those refugees that you actually gave them residency to live in your country, and yet they're not getting benefits from the government directly? They are working for themselves, benefiting the country and their families to make sure that they actually live in safety.
The South African government has made it crystal clear that what has happened in South Africa is not something that we want to explain. It's not something that we want to give excuses for. It is unacceptable, but we also want it to be crystal clear that it is not related to what is being termed as xenophobic attack. It is a criminal tendency, and the South African government is relating to it as such. Those people are being pursued. Those that will be caught will be treated in the courts of law as criminals, because the South African government knows better than anybody. We in South Africa know better than anybody what it means to be lifted in your time of need. We know better than everybody that what it means to be supported, because we found people of Somali origins all over the world. As we went to seek for refuge, as we went to seek for solitude, we found them there and they opened their doors for us. So it cannot be that because we have our own challenges at home and our own dynamics, that all of a sudden the people of Somalia are the enemy. And I was explaining earlier on that I think that the challenge that we are accepting as the South African government, and this is where we would need the guidance of the elders and their wisdom, is to appreciate that South Africa is a very volatile and a very hurting country because of its past. And I'm not really going to dwell on it because you know it and what I'm talking about. But we need to find the strength. I was telling the youth that if you look at an ordinary, and you will know this, Professor, I'm sure in all your years of studies, you can count the number of South African students. Can you imagine how many Somali young people are spread across the globe, seeking education, seeking empowerment? We need to have a conversation with our brothers from Somali. How do they have that resolve, that resilience to keep pushing even when things are hard? How can they share it with their brothers from South Africa? How can they appreciate that? We cannot say that when one is free and the other is in turmoil, that we are happy. Because the instability of one will definitely impact on the stability of the other. So for me, I'm trying to say that the message that is coming from the South African government, it's very clear that be under no illusion that there is a concerted political effort to eliminate or to deal with people of Somali descent or Somali origin. Be very clear that there's there's an increase in violent crimes. Even our own people in South Africa suffer those violent crimes, and it's a matter that the South African government is putting attention to and is really dealing with. But also be open to share with us your experiences of how you made the transition. And these are the conversations that we'll be willing and open to have with you into the future. How did you make that transition to leave your homeland, to go and find better opportunities outside and want to come back to improve your homeland? How can we share from those experiences? Because that's an area that we still lack in as South Africans. Killing of any man in broad daylight is unacceptable. Whether that man be Somali, South African, there's no human being that has a right to take the life of another. And that is a right that is guaranteed by the South African Constitution, and it's a right that the South African government, through the ANC, has fought for. Now, when you speak about the ANC, I was trying to be a little bit of a diplomat. When you speak about the ANC and you say the Somali government helped them to drive to independence, I think, and I'm being candid with you, I think that would be stretching the reality to say that the ANC government has stood by and watched people of Somali being killed. I can tell you for a fact that under the watch of the ANC government, the intake of non-South African nationals and the protection of their rights has increased in the last 6 years. In the last 6 years, if you go do your research and you look at, and I'm not talking about specific Somali people, but I'm talking about all non-South African nationals from within the continent. Their intake and their rights in South Africa have increased. Some of them have been in South Africa, like you are saying, for even over 10 years. And some of them have even taken up South African citizenship and are enjoying the privileges and the rights that are accrued by being a citizen of South Africa. So I think that in as much as we are heard and in as much as we are honest, we must separate truth from fiction. So that when we want to find the solution, we deal with what is the matter at cost. The point I accept with you is that there has been this consistent violation of non-South African nationals across the platform, and not only Somalis. And it's a reality that the South African government cannot accept. It's the reality that the South African government is doing everything it can to be able to address. The protection of the rights of the Somali in South Africa, not even by the Vienna Convention, based on the propositions and the value systems of the Freedom Charter. Not even by the Vienna Convention, because the ethos and the modus operandum of the ANC is not derived only from the Vienna Convention. It is derived from the Freedom Charter, which it was the tool that led the ANC to traverse the country, the continent, time and time again that unless Africa is stable, unless Africa is free, South Africa cannot prosper. What is it that the South African government has to do now in this situation? Is to express that it will not accept, and that's why I said you cannot justify. You cannot justify what happened there, and we're not going to try and justify that. But what we can say to beyond reasonable doubt and shadow is that it is not something that the South African government is happy about. It is not something that we appreciate. And this is the message that our president has conveyed to your president when they had their communication, to say that the law enforcement agencies will work swiftly to resolve this matter.